Hello. I'm so excited about this week. I think that this is an important thing to touch on throughout our 16 weeks together is your diet. This is something that we're dealing with day in and day out, multiple times a day. And based on whatever we have chosen for you and your journey and what's best for your where you're at right now, this is still very applicable whether you are doing a macro-based diet and you are counting your macros and your carbs and all your fats and proteins, which are very important. Regardless, if you do count your macros, we need to make sure that we've got enough protein in, we've got enough carbs, we've got our water in. There's just no getting away from that. And whether you have chosen another thing that we've talked about or you've done the best me in 23, we have lots of options. Don't forget, you've got supplements that you want to make sure you get in because we're not going to get all of our micronutrients in our food. So to have a good supplement regimen, that's not only going to support our health in a dietary need way, like in a weight loss way. If that's not your goal, maybe it's to get stronger, to build muscle, to get healthier gut. All of these things are related to your diet. It's the number one driver when it comes to improving in any of these areas. So we want to make sure that we have options. We don't get bored, because if we get bored, then we kind of fall off the wagon and we don't want to do it anymore. So this has been a process. I'm sure there have been good days, good weeks, bad weeks. It's just all part of it. And you probably noticed the better the week, the better you feel. And the worse the week, the worse you feel. Not just physically, but you feel it's the mental space that you're in when you know you're not following the food that you know is going to come up and support you in your goals. And so it is a journey, like I said, and we're going to be talking a lot about your proteins, your carbohydrates, and your fats, whether you're doing a macro-based diet or not. These things are important. So some of the basic things that I always tell people is you need to get 1 gram of protein in per pound that you weigh. That's a goal. It may not happen right away. It may not happen in a month or two, but just keep ooching and working that way. And those lists that I gave you in this lesson and in this module will give you ideas of what it is that you need, how much of what it is you need to get X amount of grams of that macro. I hope that made sense. So once you open up that spreadsheet and it's tabbed where you have proteins, carbs, and fats, it tells you it's a very easy. We go with your basic 25 to 26 grams of protein, which if you were to do 6 meals, that's on average what I recommend people to have per meal. And it's about 4 to 6 small meals a day. So protein, always a staple in every single meal that you're having. It keeps you more satiated. It maintains your lean muscle mass. It helps recover you whenever you've worked out and torn down the muscle fibers. Protein, 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 super important. We don't want our weight loss to be losing that lean muscle mass, because that is eliminating our body's ability to burn calories. And that is our metabolism. If you let our metabolism go because your body's like, I'm not getting any food here, so I'm just going to eat what's here. And that's your lean muscle mass. So we don't want to do that. We want to come up and say, hey, don't eat that, eat this instead. This protein's here for you. That's what protein's there for. And then the carbohydrates and fats are for your energy source. Now, your energy source is your body goes after the carbohydrates first. So when you're in your more active time of day, that's when I always recommend people pair the protein that they're having with the carbohydrate. There's a list of carbohydrates in there as well. And we can talk about, if you're confused on how many carbs that you're supposed to have a day, based on your training, based on goals, maybe your goals have changed. Maybe you've hit your goal and now you need to set a new goal, or you've stalled out. I had given you another week of what are some of the things to look out for when we have fat loss stall out. So if you didn't look at that lesson, go back and look at that lesson. It's a great educational PowerPoint. And I know I say PowerPoint like that's super boring, but It's super educational, and it's as quick and as painless as possible, but it is very valuable information on what to do when we have fat loss stall out. Like, we hit this plateau. What do we do? What are some of the changes that we need to make, or things we need to dial in? So back to what we use for energy. Our body goes after fat last for energy. So you want to pair at the more winding down time of your day. Some people work at night, and that's in the beginning of the day, you're more chillaxed. And then you start to ramp up towards the evening when you're about ready to go in for a shift or work or do whatever you're doing. Then the carbs are better at that time of day. But so whatever your schedule is unique to you, we want to pair the fats with the protein when we are winding down or we have less activity in our day. It's more satiating, mean it's more satisfying, so we don't get hungry. Carbs tend to trigger hunger. I know it's kind of weird. And then we just want more carbs, and then we just trigger more hunger, and we're just like, wow, why is this not satisfying me? Especially if it's a dirty carb meaning processed food, chips, bread, things that are not in its natural form. A really good clean, you'll see on these lists, all of these are whole, clean foods that are very satisfying to the body. Your body just knows exactly what to do with it. It's very hard to gain weight when eating these foods in whatever amounts. And so we want to make sure that we are in an appropriate amount to be able to sustain us in our day, our energy. Our body even burns calories when it's digesting food. So it's like we need the food to digest the food for the energy to digest. It's all this beautiful orchestrated process that our bodies just know what to do when we give it the clean whole foods that our bodies just naturally know. Oh, I recognize this. I'm going to use this to maintain this lean muscle mass in this body. Or I recognize this. I'm going to go after this for energy and use this to have some energy. It just knows when you give it something that's processed and it has a bunch of preservatives and words you can't even pronounce. Guess what it's going to do? It's going to store it as body fat, because that is the body's way of protecting you from these things that it doesn't identify. It knows what to do with. So it's to your body an unidentifiable object that, okay, where we're going to store this to harm the body the least is in the body fat. But then we keep doing that and keep doing that, then it is going to it will harm our bodies. So toxins get stored in our body fat. Hormones are regulated in our body fat. If we're having hormone issues, there's supplements I can talk to you about when it comes to whatever stage you are in with your process. I'm perimenopausal right now, and so I need different things than I did when I was menstruating. So we will talk about that as well, because there are some incredible supplements that have been on the market and have been absolute game changers for women and their hormones. So stay tuned for that talk. I hope this was helpful. If you at all need any support, please don't hesitate to reach out. I appreciate you, and I will talk to you in the next video.